Okay, hello students. My name is Noah Bratcher and I'm a former Peace Corps volunteer. I previously was a Peace Corps volunteer near Osh City. Now I'm living in Osh. So I will be talking to you about my program today is about how to go to universities in the United States. So I know that you've had different presentations about the same topic, but I think that my presentation is a bit unique compared to the other ones. So I will show you now. Just a moment while I share my screen. Okay, universities in the United States. So this is the university that I went to in the U.S. So what is a bachelor's degree? Bachelor's degrees in the U.S. are 120 units. 1 unit equals 1 hour per week of class time. A class which meets for 3 or 4 hours a week is a 3-unit class. So what does this mean? For example, if you take a class in one semester like Introduction to U.S. History, and this class meets 3 times per week for 1 hour each time, then this is a 3-unit class. So usually you take between 4 and 5 classes in a semester, and it's usually an average of about 15 units. So if you take 15 units per semester, you can finish your whole bachelor's degree in 8 semesters, which is 4 years. So this is a general idea of how your 120 units are broken down. So you have what's called general education classes and major related classes. General education are classes which aren't about your specialization, your faculty. So for example, I studied history. I took 30 units of lower division history courses and 30 units of general education. General education for me was math, biology, writing, communication, speech, something like this. Then you take upper division courses. These are hard, more difficult courses. Also, you take 30 units related to your major. So for me, it was history and 30 units of general education. So in the US, we have this idea that people, even when they specialize in something, they should also have some knowledge about other topics, right? So I took 120 units for my bachelor's degree, but probably only about 40 or 50 of them were history. Then some were politics and economics, which is related to history, and then many were biology, statistics, general mathematics, chemistry, astronomy, English literature, all different kinds of courses. So I will show you now what does a 4-year degree plan look like. So let me open this. Okay, so this is history at the university I went to, Humboldt State University. Just a normal state university, nothing elite or special. So if you see here, the year 1, semester 1, 15 to 17 units. So here's a English course, another English course, mathematics, humanities. We have 1 history course. So even though I'm a history major for my first year, for my first semester, I'm only taking 3 units of history. Here, the second semester, we have English, more English, communications, art, life science. Again, only 1 history course, right? Then we start to transition. My second year, taking more history courses. Here I have 2 history, 1 politics, another critical thinking, general education course. So then we're getting later. Here we're taking higher level, more elite history courses, major upper division history, mostly taking history now. So this is how it works for any U.S. major, right? You're going to start by taking more general things. Now, why do they do this? Because some people, they decide they want to change their major in maybe in their first semester, second semester, even third semester. So if I was originally a history major, then I decide, oh, I took a math course. I like math. I want to switch to math. You can still do this, right? But if I was only taking history courses in my first 2 semesters, then I would have to go back and redo a bunch of math courses, and it would make me stay in university 5 or 6 years instead of 4. So this is why we have this idea of uh, at the beginning, you're taking a lot of kinds of courses, figuring out what you like. In fact, you don't actually have to declare your major. You don't have to say what your area of study will be during your first year of university. You can just go in and take only general education courses, and then later you can decide, oh, I'd like to do something different. Okay, let me go back to the PowerPoint here. Right, okay. What is a community college and why study there? So at a community college, you can only take lower division courses. These are your 60 easiest units, right? However, classes at a community college are much cheaper than classes at a regular 4-year college. So my family is not very wealthy. This is what I did. I went to a community college first. I took 60 units of courses. Then I transferred to a 4-year university. This was very convenient for me. A lot of Americans choose to do this path. Also, community colleges are easy to be accepted into. So if you did poorly in school, you can still go to a community college, then go to a 4-year university, right? Also, community colleges have relationships with nearby 4-year universities. Sometimes even the same professors teach at both universities. So, some people, they didn't do good in high school. They want to go to a nice university. So they find the community college that's associated with that university. They go there for 2 years. They do really well. They get good grades. Then they transfer over to a 4-year university. It's a good option. So this is what I did. I went to College of the Redwoods, a community college. I took 60 units of lower division courses. Then I transferred to Humboldt State University, finished everything in 4 years, saved a lot of money by going to the community college. Okay, so how to choose a university. First thing you should do is choose your major, your area of specialty. So then you can find which universities specialize in that major. You can search on Google. You can find a university that has several versions of a major, right? So a university that's very famous for journalism, maybe they have 4 or 5 different journalism bachelor's degrees, right? Or a university that's very famous for environmental science. Maybe they have 6 or 7 different environmental science degrees that are all very narrow in their specialty. This is a good idea to choose from a university like this. Another thing to consider, a low-ranking university might have a top-ranking program. So, for example, Humboldt State University's ranking in the U.S. is really low, 346 out of however many universities there are in the U.S., but its ranking in environmental science is 8, right? So of all the universities in the U.S., it's the 8th in environmental science, right? So I'll show you some evidence of this. We can look here at major academic plans. These are all the different kinds of bachelor's degrees you can get. So look, for example, at film, right? They only have one version of film. So it's probably not a great place to study film. But then if we go to environmental science here, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different environmental science or environmental studies degrees, right? And they're all very specialized: ecological restoration, energy and climate, environment and natural resources. So this shows you that this university specializes in this enough to offer many different versions of it, right? So it's a good place to study this subject. Okay, writing a motivation letter. This is useful for universities, but it's useful for many different things, not only for universities. So, sorry, one moment. So you want to start with your background. Where are you from? What was your family like? What was your upbringing like? What was your education like? Where have you worked? Do you have volunteer experience? What is going on in your town? So for foreign students, it's a good idea to think about your background as the beginning of your motivation letter, and then you're going to show later why will you study and how will it improve you as a person so that you can go back to where you're from and contribute something, right? Um, so you need to, right now, if you're thinking about going to the US, you need to think about getting some volunteer experience, getting some work experience. You need to think about what are the issues in the region that you're from, in the town that you're from, right? And what can you learn in the US that will help you bring something back and contribute something to the area you're from, right? So you can consider like what does the US have that they don't have here? Some kind of specialty, right? For example, I'm here in Osh right now. I'm living in Osh. There's a big problem in Osh with like waste management. There's a lot of garbage everywhere. There's not a good recycling system, something like this. So maybe you describe this. Everywhere I go, I see garbage everywhere. I see that we don't have a good way to manage this in my city, in my region. So I'd like to study this in the US. I'd like to find a university that has like a waste management bachelor's degree, something, maybe it's an administrative degree in waste management, right? And then you find the university that has this program. You go there, you study this program, then you come back and you contribute something, right? Or maybe you notice, so in the town that I live in, there's no good graphic design. So I want to study graphic design and come back and create an opportunity for people where I'm from to learn about graphic design. So when you choose the university, you need to be very specific, right? A lot of people make the mistake of saying, I chose this university because it's in New York, and New York is great, super big and cool, and it'll be fun living there. You don't want to do this kind of thing. You want to find something very specific about a university. Maybe you look at the department, the history department, for example, look at the professors, who's working there. Look at what they've written, find the books that they've written. See if this fits with what you're interested in. So like when I did my master's in history, I researched some universities. I found professors that I'd like to learn with. I read some of their books. And then I mentioned this in my motivation letter. Oh, I read the book of this professor that's working here. That's why I'd like to learn here. Also, why this city, right? Every city in the US is different, unique, has a different industry, different culture. You should mention this in your motivation letter as well and be very specific. Okay. And then your future goals. How will studying at this university and in this program help your future? What will you give back? What will you take from the US and give back to your home? Okay, scholarships and funding. This is very difficult for foreign students. The US doesn't offer a lot of scholarships for foreign students to do bachelor's degrees. There are some options. They're very few and they're very difficult to get. I'm not going to talk about any specifics here, but I'm going to recommend community college as a good option. With community college, you can pay much less. It's probably 20% of what you would pay to go to a four-year school at community college. You can work 20 hours a week at the university with your student visa. This is really good because in the US, the minimum wage is pretty high. And so, for example, you go to school in California, where I'm from, minimum wage is $15 an hour, so you can make $1,200 a month working at the university. That probably will cover your tuition at the community college or close to it, so it's a good option. Master's programs, however, are easier to find funding for. A lot of master's programs in the US are fully funded. They'll give you money for tuition, some money for housing, things like this, especially if you're a very good student before, and if you're studying, especially in the sciences, computer science or different sciences, because there's a lot of money in the sciences in the US. If you go to the US to study art for a master's or history, it won't be fully funded, but there's a good chance that you can find a fully funded program in science. Okay, exchange programs. So Global U-Grad program is one fully funded semester at an American university. Maybe you're already familiar with this program. I have some Kyrgyz friends who've done this program. It's a really great opportunity. They pay for not only your tuition, but also all of your expenses, and then they give you a monthly living stipend. Okay, then there's the Fulbright Foreign Student Program. This is a fully funded master's degree in the U.S. I think the deadline this year is maybe in May, but you might want to double check that. There's usually 5 or 6 different areas that you can study. You can't just study whatever you want. And then this new one I saw recently, it's the One Beats Music Exchange Program, fully funded 1-month music study program. I think there's currently 3 Kyrgyz students who did this program. I don't know if they're still in the US or if they've already come back. Okay, so that's all for my presentation, and the rest of the time I'll dedicate to questions. So, are there any questions? You can type into the chat. Okay, so I'm seeing here, somebody said, can you talk about scholarships for PhD candidates? So a lot of PhD programs are fully funded, right? Because I think every PhD program has some funding, because usually you have to do some teaching along with your PhD program, or you have to be a research assistant or something like that. So for example, if you do a PhD in history, you will be teaching the beginning history classes. It's quite common. And then you'll get paid for that, usually in the form of a tuition waiver or some living stipend or something like that. And for the sciences, you'll be a research assistant or a teacher's aide or something like that, and you'll be paid, or you'll have some of your costs are reduced. But a lot of PhD programs are completely fully funded because they only allow, for example, 5 candidates that year or something like that, and they have enough money to provide for them, because the schools, they want their PhD candidates to be successful because it reflects positively on the school. If you're doing a PhD at whatever university, they want to promote you, they want you to do well, they want you to get a job afterwards, because it helps that university look good, to say, oh, this person went here and then they went and got this job and they became really successful. Okay, does anyone else have any questions? No other questions, huh? Well, I think then if nobody has any questions, we don't need to continue. But if anyone has any questions after, they can contact me privately. I'm actually living in Osh city right now, and I have my own English center here in Osh. So if anyone wants to contact me, they can. I'll type my email address into the chat. And you can follow my English school on Instagram. I just posted that. Okay, everyone. Thank you for coming to the presentation, and I will hopefully see you all sometime. Thank you.